Uh, we believe that already since Russia's second invasion in Ukraine, and as we see the situation develop all in Europe, that the previous NATO decision that there should be 2% at least is should be. Uh, we have to go further. Situation has changed dramatically, and we have to go further. As I said, we as a country, we already are moving fast. We see the same calls for raised defense expenditure all around Europe. Europe is also moving towards the right decisions in that regard, and we hope that Spain will be in line with this movement of Europe, because from our point of view, the situation is obvious. And everybody raising their defense expenditures, it's also a question of allied unity, solidarity, and the situation has developed in a way that it's also a question about long-term European security. What we have learned through this decade of raising steadily defense budgets and investing is that it's, on the other hand, it's not that simple. You cannot simply say that let's have 2%. Because the thing is also that there is the question of absorption capacity. So you have to raise a budget step by step. You cannot raise it by number of percents at the same point, because there is no such thing as a tank supermarket. You cannot go and buy. So if you suddenly flow in too much money, you have an issue. How do you spend it? So it needs to be done steadily. This is what we have done through decade. We have learned it. So sooner you start, the further you get. So we invite all allies to start yesterday. Because we are on a border with a country which has proved that it can be aggressive without a reason. A country which has proved that its war fighting methods are, let's say, at least of the last century, they really do not care much about their soldiers and people in general. The country which uses those mines extensively. So for us, it is important, and that was a regional decision. It was a difficult decision, I have to say. It was not a simple decision. It had a long debate. The point is that with a neighbor like that, aggressive, not really caring about people's lives, we have to keep all our options open. Again, for deterrence principle, that Russians know that this option is also there. It does not mean that the next day the mines will be placed, etc., etc., but the options have to be open. Russians are using them, so we are kind of tying our own hands, which might not be smart in the long term in our particular situation. But the decision was not easy at all. For time being, not really. As I said, there are no indications that there could be a military aggression day after tomorrow or something. For a couple of reasons, of course. One is that Russia is simply not capable, as long as it's engaged in a war in Ukraine. And for a while afterwards, it might not be capable. That's logical. But the other thing is just because we are investing over a decade in building deterrence. Deterrence is visible. It works, both in classical ways with a NATO presence and our own investment in defense, and through ourselves building resilience and being resilient towards hybrid actions. Deterrence is visible. I'm sure Russians see it as well. No, I don't. Well, you have to be. You have to look a little bit more in detail. I don't think that Donald Trump has questioned, and I would argue the opposite. That in a couple of times recently, he has reconfirmed that his commitment to NATO. What Donald Trump is constantly saying is that Europeans should invest more. And there is a difference in that. And I have to say, I kind of agree with him. Europeans have to invest more. Trump has his particularities, how he approaches the process, but we have to look on a process as a process with a sober mind and a cool head. And with a sober mind and a cool head, I'm pretty sure that it will settle down the way it should. It again depends. It again depends on what again on this. The France and UK are right in the sense that once we entered that process of negotiations, to have all options on the table. And in that sense, we support that's also our approach. You have to have all options on the table if you want to reach just and a sustainable solution. And again, we are at the very early stages. So, what will be the final solution, if it includes also Allied presence in Ukraine, under what mandate, in what size, etc., that is too early to call. I'm sure that my country will take its part to be there. That's how we have approached our NATO membership for 2 decades. While we are building, investing heavily, for example, while we are building and investing heavily in our own defense, we have, for our size, significant contingent in Kosovo. So, if there is an common European or NATO or allied mission, I'm sure we will be there in a proportional manner. But it's too early to say what exactly it will be. No, well, we are in Europe, well, Europe is a union of democratic countries, which is extremely important, by the way. And each country chooses its own government, and there is no reason to have any particular perception. And the Prime Minister Sanchez has been Prime Minister for a number of years, which also means that he's a politician with experience. If you talk about him as a politician, but the country, no, our relations are good within Europe. As I said, Latvia appreciates the Spanish contributions to NATO allied presence in Latvia. We have a lot of trade going on and developing. So, no, relations are developing, flourishing. Governments are working together within Europe. As you know, in European Union, prime ministers, ministers, they meet almost every month in the same room, and not talking about diplomats and going down level. So I think it's brilliant. No.